And welcome to the Elevated Evening News. And yes, this is our Thursday night, kind of abbreviated. It's closer to a half-hour one because this one also runs on the local Comcast channel for the local public access television channel. This will run for tomorrow evening and on Saturday. We thank them for allowing us to put something onto Comcast, and this is kind of our weekend update show, but going to look at this one. We need to, because sometimes in news breaks and you got to jump to it. Calaveras County, there was a major injury collision, Burson Road, Highway 12, earlier this afternoon. But currently, there is one that just broke on the scene here. This was a vehicle versus tree, and we need to put this one up. Swiss Ranch Road and Weather Top Road. And so you're going to see me looking over this way. But it is news. And that's what we do. We actually do news. So, you know, it's just the way it is. All right, let's have a look here. And no, we already did that one. Let's do a new post here. All right, this one is it. Yes, we had a little bit of weather, and it looks like we're heading into the weekend, warming into the weekend. It is a big weekend. It is Bear Valley's closing weekend. They'll be wrapping up this weekend, and they also have the Slush Cup on Saturday, which is the dual slalom race, and it is open to skiers of all abilities. It is a fairly easy race, but it is one of those fun ones where everybody, all the old racers, all the other stuff come out of the woodwork, come up to Bear Valley to do the Slush Cup. Let's see here, traffic update. Traffic update, and yes, now you get a peek into what we do all day, every day, and we have been doing this for... Yes, we've been doing this for 16 years now, and it has been an honor, and we thank you, and we hopefully, knock on wood, are getting ready to do an expansion in what we do, and we hope it goes off well. Let's see, vehicle, and it looks like the vehicle was reckless driving before they hit the tree. Let's see, vehicle versus tree. And yes, we do have a small dog that has something in the background, and she is making noise, and I'm not sure why. Let's see, vehicle versus tree, collision, near, and yes, it is a possible injury collision, and hopefully it is nothing serious. Let's have a quick look at that one. And yes, on these we usually put up a map with it, and so let's do that now. And here we go. Let's see, and it is Mountain Ranch, and let's set this one here, and come on, let's zoom out. For some reason, the mapping on this one when we went into it was really zoomed in tight, which is unusual for the Google Maps. And the other big story, which we're going to go to right after we get this one up, is the massive power outage in Tuolumne County. The estimate was they would have it back up by, there was over 20,000 people without power this evening. We're going to go to that next. And let's see here. Let's add this. Pinetree.net, Google Maps, export, and we try to zoom out enough in these on the traffic ones where at least you can get an indication of where the incidents are if you're not familiar with the areas. Because sometimes, you know, if it's a neighborhood or streets that you don't normally go, there you go, Mountain Ranch, traffic update, vehicle versus tree collision. It is a possible injury collision. And we'll go there. And it looks like the driver may have fled or left the scene. So let's see, let's put this one up. And who is going to sponsor this collision? Yes, here we go. We'd like to thank our sponsors. But since this one is going to be running on public access as well, we'll save our mentionings for tomorrow. There we go. And news, featured, traffic, and there, and come on. And set and publish. And a little bit of a history piece today. It was 156 years ago today that Abraham Lincoln passed away. And one of the things in history that I've always been, I guess one of the things that bothers me most about history is that even the stuff that we're having now, the racial tensions we're having now and all the rest of this stuff, I think the racial history would have been different had Abraham Lincoln lived to be able to help manage the Reconstruction. I really believe that. And I think that, you know, I do. And it was, you know, we'll never know. And we'll never know that. And also, interesting thing on that one as well is that I believe when Obama is on his, former President Obama is on his deathbed, is that he did not do more for racial issues. And because if there was ever, and I know he felt he had, you know, somewhat of a more of a progressive agenda and all the rest of this stuff, but I think for him personally, the thing that he could have done, because he was the embodiment, you know, in some ways of what Martin Luther King's ideals, you know, the possibility, and you know, and we'll just never, we'll never know that. Let's see. Mountain Ranch, and we hit save, and there we go. All right, let's have a quick look at, let's see, there was one little piece, you know, there was the shooting in Chicago of the young 13-year-old, and it's just brutal. And I'll see if we have, I think we know, no, how does that auto start? That is Vice President Harris, and that was on the Northern Triangle piece. Let's see if they have a piece here on the thing from Chicago. We wanted to do one little piece on this one, and let's see. Did they have one? Derek Chauvin, he took the 5th. Most people are aware of that one. Canada's Universal, picture of the disorganization, Capitol riots. No. Where is the piece? Where is the one? Where is the... Come on, let's see. I know it was there. I thought I saw it earlier. Here was the piece. Okay, we'll do what we know. There was one national piece. We'll put that one up. There was a little piece from the White House that we needed to run. It was the piece on Russia, and this one's going to be coming up, and this is, it's short. It's only about 6 minutes, but this is President Biden on Russia.
This week, I spoke with President Putin of Russia about the nature of our relationship, the relationship between our two countries.
Let's go.
And I was candid, respectful. The conversation was candid and respectful. Two great powers with significant responsibility for global stability. And President Putin and I have had a significant responsibility to steward that relationship. I take that responsibility very seriously, as I'm sure he does. Russia and Americans are both proud and patriotic people. And I believe the Russian people, like the American people, are invested in a peaceful and secure future of our world. During the campaign for the presidency, I was unequivocal that if I was elected president, I'd respond to any attempt to influence our elections, the last election, and because elections are sacred, they're sovereign undertakings, and they're an expression of the will of the American people. and we cannot allow a foreign power to interfere in our democratic process with impunity. And I told him if it turned out that as I thought, that there was engagement in our elections, that I'd respond. Later, during the transition, as we learned more about the SolarWinds cyber intrusion, I made clear that I would respond once we determined who had, in fact, conducted a hack on the scope and scale that occurred. When President Putin called me in January after I was sworn in to congratulate me, I told him that my administration would be looking very carefully, now that we had access to all the data, and at the issues to assess Russia's role, and then determine what response we would make. When we spoke again this week, I told him that we would shortly be responding in a measured and a proportionate way because we had concluded that they had interfered in the election and SolarWinds was totally inappropriate. Today, I've approved several steps, including expulsion of several Russian officials as a consequence of their actions. I've also signed an executive order authorizing new measures, including sanctions to address specific harmful actions that Russia has taken against U.S. interests. I was clear with President Putin that we could have gone further, but I chose not to do so. I chose to be proportionate. The United States is not looking to kick off a cycle of escalation and conflict with Russia. We want a stable, predictable relationship. If Russia continues to interfere with our democracy, I'm prepared to take further actions to respond. It is my responsibility as President of the United States to do so. But throughout our long history of competition, our two countries have been able to find ways to manage tensions and to keep them from escalating out of control. There are also areas where Russia and the United States can and should work together. For example, in the earliest days of my administration, we were able to move quickly to extend for 5 years the New START Treaty and maintain that key element of nuclear stability between our nations. And that was in the interest of the United States, of Russia, and quite frankly, of the world. And we got it done. When I spoke to President Putin, I expressed my belief that communication between the two of us personally and directly was to be essential in moving forward to a more effective relationship, and he agreed on that point. To that end, I propose that we meet in person this summer in Europe for a summit to address a range of issues facing both of our countries. Our teams are discussing that possibility right now. And out of that summit, were it to occur, and I believe it will, the United States and Russia could launch a strategic stability dialogue to pursue cooperation in arms control and security. We can address critical global challenges that require Russia and the United States to work together, including reining in nuclear threats from Iran and North Korea, ending this pandemic globally, and meeting the existential crisis of climate change. I also made clear to President Putin that the United States is unwavering in our support of our allies and partners in Europe. In that vein, I expressed concern about Russia's military buildup on Ukraine's border and in occupied Crimea. I affirmed U.S. support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, and I strongly urged him to refrain from any military action. Now is the time to de-escalate. The way forward is through thoughtful dialogue and diplomatic process. The U.S. is prepared to continue constructively to move toward that process. My bottom line is this: where there's an interest in the United States to work with Russia, we should and we will. Where Russia seeks to violate the interests of the United States, we will respond. We'll always stand in defense of our country, our institutions, our people, and our allies. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. President, did President Putin give you any indication in that call that he is willing to change his behavior?
We indicated we would talk about it. I laid out, as I said, very simply. I said during the campaign, I said when he called to congratulate me on being elected, I said subsequent to that, this last conversation, that if it turned out that he was engaged in the activities that he'd been accused of in cybersecurity and SolarWinds and interfering in our elections, that I would respond in kind. I urged him to respond appropriately, not to exceed it, because we can move as well. My hope and expectation is we'll be able to work out a modus vivendi, but it's important that we have direct talks and that we continue to be in contact with one another. Thank you.
Mr. President, do you expect to have a summit?
Pardon me?
Why not Nord Stream? Why didn't you keep going with the sanctions on Nord Stream 2, Mr. President?
Nord Stream 2 is a complicated issue affecting our allies in Europe. I've been opposed to Nord Stream 2 for a long time, from the beginning, when I was out of office and even before office, before I left office as vice president. But that still is an issue that is in play. Thank you very much.
All right, we are back. We had looked at the PG&E outage map earlier. Let's actually have a quick look. We're going to do the over-the-shoulder look, and this will be just at our post on thepinetree.net of what we originally covered, and then we'll go over to the map. Originally, when we reported on this, I know for Calaveras Public Access, it's Calaveras County specific, but there was 29,194 people without power, so we're going to have a look at it here. Here we go. All right, this is what we're looking at. Much of Tuolumne County without power this evening. There was an update of 29,194 customers without power at its peak. The outage started at 7 p.m. and they estimated when we talked to reported on this earlier that they would have them all up by 11:15. That has changed for, I believe it's about 12,000 now. We'll move over to it. All right, originally the power outage went all the way up to Strawberry. There you see the Twain Harte graphic in red there, Mono Village. The second one drop on down, you see on most of Sonora proper. Then all the way down, looks like, Columbia was up, but Jamestown, lower Jamestown. Then if you look at all of Groveland was out, etc. Some of those have come back up, and let's switch over to the current outage map. And somehow this seems like, and I know it's only PG&E outages, but it kind of has that pre-fire season. Kind of has that pre-fire season feel to it, if you know what I mean. In the next few weeks, just as kind of an update for those of you who are new to our area on the fire stuff, is typically when the grass starts to go brown down along the lower elevations. For example, there's sometimes a joke with some of the firefighters. You always know in firefighters when the fire is here, when there's usually the couple 100-acre grass fires that basically they don't really damage much, but they really they cover a lot of ground. Basically, the Milton Highway 4, those areas, etc. All right, let's switch back to the outage map. This is what we're looking at here. This is before we zoom in. They still have outages. Groveland, there's still let's look at this one. Groveland, there is still, let's see. Come on. Groveland area, there is still, looks like their estimated restoration for the Groveland area is, there's 3,800 customers in the Groveland area still without power at this time. Time of power estimation is 4 a.m. Let's move on up to some of the Sonora ones. Tuolumne side of Sonora, you were looking at 4 a.m. restoration as well for 2,800 customers in that area. Let's move into Mono Vista area. That outage. Come on. Well, we'll start zooming in here a little bit. I think it's thinking. There it is. Now you start seeing If you're not familiar with the PG&E outage maps, once you zoom down in, you start getting a neighborhood view. There was the Groveland, which we just talked about. And there was almost 30,000 out. So they've made a huge jump in a lot of these. So it's a lot better than it was. I know that's not going to help the people who are going to be out till 4 a.m. This outage is 4,400 in that block. Also, you're looking at, let's see, still have Upcountry, Twain Harte. I think this was the largest single block right now for Twain Harte. You're looking at, I think it was still 7,500 customers. So basically the entire Twain Harte area is dark, and Strawberry, I think that may be showing less. They're looking at 1,705 customers, and that may show less than. And how the color coding goes is, if it's red, it's 5,000 plus. If it's 500, if it's orange, it's 500 to 499. And sometimes it seems like, you know, it's, for example, yeah, that's only an orange one, but for Strawberry, that's all the customers. So anyway, so that's what we're looking at there. So Strawberry, they are looking at, let's see here, 9 a.m. restoration for Upcountry for those 1,700 customers. As we come down, let's see, for Twain Harte, I think this one was 6 a.m., 9 a.m. as well. Man, they pushed that back since 9 a.m. restoral there for Twain Harte. And was it 4 a.m. for the ones earlier? Come on. For some reason, the link isn't working on. There we go. 4 a.m. And that was for Sonora proper, 2,800 there. So, all right. So, and there's also press releases and stuff about microgrids, everything else. And we couldn't resist. I know we should probably apologize for this. I was looking for a press release from PG&E on this power outage, because I mean, if you have an entire county that goes down, you know, you really, and normally we get something pushed out, maybe pushed out to us. We don't have one yet, and normally we do. In fact, let's check again here real quick. Let's have a check here again real quick. No, nothing. Let's actually see. Let's do a search just to make sure. Nah, we got nope. We got nothing. So, all right. So we couldn't. Sometimes, you know, it's like, okay, if we're going to have to stop what we're doing and put up this power, we might as well get some mileage out as well. So we were on the PG&E site, and it was talk about irony. They have, you know, they've got 30,000 people in an outage on this one, and today they released a press release about the new guy they're hiring to handle all the electric operations. And, you know, it's not his fault. He's just going to be taking the job soon, but, you know, we just couldn't resist it. You know, you're just like, oh, really? We're gonna go there? All right, let's see. There was congressional. One more little clip from the White House. This was on Asian American. And yes, the Dow did pass 34,000, but there's one little piece here. This is, since you know there's been all the Asians, a lot of the racial stuff right now in the U.S. is a mess. You know, it hasn't, in a weird way, it seems, for those of us who are older, it seems like it hasn't been this way since the 60s. Maybe it has, but.
Get started. I want to make it clear that there's some good news today. And that is that retail sales this last month have surged by 9.8% as American families received that $1,400 check because of the people in this room getting it done for me. And auto sales are up 15%. Things are moving. These checks are providing a heck of a lot of needed relief for families and in turn needed support for our economic recovery. And today's news comes on top of the recent news that we created 900,000 jobs in the month of March. First 2 months of our administration, we've created more jobs than the first 2 months of any administration in American history. And again, I'm not being solicitous because of you all. I really mean it, the way you fought like the devil. You really did to get that package passed. I mean, it really did. And I want to thank the members for supporting the American Rescue Plan. And we still have a long way to go. We're 8 million jobs down from what it was more than before the pandemic began. But America's coming back. And with regard to, I want to express my gratitude to the group we have here today from the House, representing this caucus, which represents vital communities and very diverse communities within the Asian American, Hawaiian, and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders.
We're going to bring it back because we're running through our half-hour time and we need to get to weather. I know the power outage took up quite a bit of that, so let's roll on here and let's have a look at your weekend weather. And it is going to be stellar. Yes, it is. It's going to be stellar. All right, let's have a look at it. And as most of you know, our weather is broken down by elevation bands. So let's have a roll at, let's get rolling on this and what you got expected for the weekend. Here we go. Above the 6,000 foot level, Bear Valley, Lake Alpine, Kirkwood, Kennedy Meadows, Pinecrest, etc. It is closing weekend for Bear Valley. They have kept running for another weekend. Kirkwood and Dodge Ridge closed last weekend. Here we go tonight, mostly clear with a low of 27 degrees, slight chance of snow showers with a high of 52 tomorrow, then mostly clear with a 31 on Friday evening, and then 53 on Saturday. And wow, it's jumped 53 on Saturday, and it jumped 3 degrees from this morning's forecast. This morning it was 57. Now we're looking at 60 degrees on Sunday. For the high, and Monday 59, 32, and if they get some string of days temps like that, don't know, we may see Ebbets or Sonora, we may see some of the passes open by next week. You never know. All right, let's drop on down to Mid-Slope. This is Mid-Slope. This would be for on the Highway 108 corridor, Miwok Village, Twain Harte on the Highway 4 corridor, Arnold, Big Trees Village, Big Trees State Park, Dorrington, Camp Connell. And on the Highway 88 side, you're looking at Pioneer, Barton, Dewdrop, etc. 42, 63, 46, 66 on Saturday. Sunday, 72, 53, and 74 on Monday. Yes, it is warming on up. All right, let's drop on down to what we call the lower slope communities. This would be Murphy's, Mountain Ranch, Soulsbyville, West Point, Pine Grove, Groveland. You are looking at 40. We need to hurry because we're running our time for cable. 46, 71, 51, 75, 56, 79, 56, 79, and 53. All right, let's drop on down to the Highway 49 corridor from Sutter Creek, Jackson, McCollum Hill, San Andreas, Angels Camp, and Sonora. 45, 73, 49, 76, 80 on Sunday. Yes, 80. And then 80 on Monday. So we're breaking into the 80s. Now, appropriately, if we hit the 80s, let's drop on down to lake level. Copperopolis, Valley Springs, Rancho Calaveras, Ione, Lower Jamestown, and Don Pedro. 46, 74, 50, 78, 54, 81. Yes, 81, 54, and 82 on Monday. 82. And that will do it for us for this evening. We thank you for joining us. We appreciate it more than you can possibly imagine. And have a great and glorious weekend.